Morning. This is the open meeting of the Design Review Committee is being conducted remotely consistent with the Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, the town of Northborough has been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend gatherings, public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a public accessible physical location. All members of the Design Review Committee are allowed and encouraged to, all members of the public are in Design Review Committee are allowed to encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the Design Review Committee to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to the Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comments. Confirming member access. I will ask each member to affirm that they are attending the meeting. So Diana.
Here.
Dave.
Here.
Tom.
I'm here, but I'm recusing myself for the presentation.
Thank you. And Lisa.
I'm here.
Thank you. All right. The chair will invite each speaker and applicant on the agenda by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold until their name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait until the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Speakers who wish to respond to the comments of others do so through the chair, taking care to identify themselves. Each vote taken by the board or committee will be conducted by roll call vote. Okay, so I think we're all set and we can begin the meeting. So right now we have MA Design, Tom Reardon is the architect, and Vito, are you the engineer or can you just introduce yourself?
Yes, Vito Colonna, Cornerstone Engineering. We're the engineer for the project. Okay.
So whoever would like to begin, you can start by presenting your project and your application.
Okay.
I believe Vito was going to go first.
Yep. Kathy, I wasn't sure if you were going to put up the site plans to share. Oh, you're on mute still.
Yes, I've got them lined up, Vito. Just give me one second.
Okay.
Or do you have yours up?
I don't have them. I was hoping.
No, that's fine. Let me just,
Okay.
every time I do this, you think I do it for the first time.
Oh, so those are loading up. This is 90 West Main Street. So some of you have seen this before. We were here probably about a year ago with a different application. And we've kind of changed up the site a lot. It's a new applicant, new design, kind of a new layout. So I think we've improved a lot since we were here last time. It's going to be a mixed use, basically, commercial business use on the first floor with residential above. There's the existing conditions plan. So this is, 90 West Main. This is the existing house. It's a duplex existing down there. It's kind of set down low in the hole. Driveway wraps around the back. There's an old garage, kind of garage bed in the back with some concrete pads and such in the back. Out into the rear, there's a stream with a wetlands and floodplain associated with it. And the floodplains actually come up into the site, into that lower area, encompassing probably about little more than half the site is floodplain area. And so the proposed design, if we go to the next sheet, is we're basically going to demo everything on site. And
Wrong building.
there we go.
Oh, wrong
There we go.
building?
Oh,
That's
oh yeah, that was actually the old one, if you remember that one. That was when we were here last time.
Oh, Vito, I'm sorry. Did you send me? Oh,
That's
You
okay.
did.
I can, if I can jump on my computer here.
wait a minute. I can find it too. Tom, I've got all the photographs, but let me,
Uh,
okay, I got it.
okay. And so I could just send them over.
Nope, that's, oh
I
God.
can email these. If I email them to you right now, will you get them?
Yeah,
Okay.
the,
Okay.
it's just taken a second. I found it, Vito.
Oh, okay. I just sent them over again, just in case.
Okay, so just bear with me, folks, while it's opening up.
Oh, yep. That's the email right there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so there you go. So you want
Yeah,
the
there you
next
go.
page?
Yep. Just scroll down the next page.
That one okay?
Yep. That one's fine too. You go up one. That's the landscape plan, but that pretty much shows the same information. So as you can see, we're proposing a one right there. There we go. So there's proposing a building on the left side with parking on the right-hand side. We said it's a commercial business use on that first floor and then residential above on the second floor. Tom can go through kind of the architecturals and the layout of the uses inside. But we've parking on the side of the building, all the spaces are to the rear or to the side. There's nothing in front of the building. And we've provided curb radii in the front to fit in the fire truck access into the site. And we've also provided on the inside a turnaround area kind of right behind the building. It's a combination loading zone, turning area. And we've also put the dumpster pad back there. So then your smaller emergency vehicles and delivery vehicles have a place to turn around without backing out onto the street. I know that was kind of a concern last time. And the building location itself, we're kind of limited on the site just because of the floodplain. There's a dark bold line on there that represents the floodplain. It kind of cuts the site in half. And so the building really has to come up to the front of the site. So we're kind of limited of where we can locate that, which I think is good too, because I think the town prefers that close to the street setting of the building. We're within that setback that's allowed, the minimum and maximum. We kind of fall right in that zone. So that's good. No variances or anything needed for the building location. I think that kind of sums up the site plan as far as, for design review of kind of location and what we have for spaces. All the spaces comply. We have the requisite amounts. We were able to fit all those on there. We have our handicap spaces and access to the building. So it's pretty kind of a straightforward site plan itself. I think you probably, and then here's the landscape plan. The applicants selected some landscaping. We overlaid that onto our plans. Basically, they have some perimeter side buffer plantings. I think those are pine, on the front of the building. There's 2 porches and a sign up front. So there's some landscaping along the front of the porches and around that sign right near the front. I think that's good from my end. I don't know if you want to have Tom go right into the architecture or if you guys want to have questions on the site plan.
So why don't we have any of the board members who have questions about what you just presented to ask you, and then we can move forward to Tom. Okay,
Sounds good.
does that work? Okay,
Yep.
so Dave, Lisa, and Diana, do you have any questions for this presentation that was just presented right now, this part of the presentation?
Yep, I do.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
Yep.
On the plans, it says that there's going to be one bedroom and two bedrooms, but in the email it said 2 3-bedrooms. Is it a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom on that other apartment?
I am not sure. Tom could probably weigh in on that. Maybe it's,
Well, I thought we were going to focus on the site plan right now. I'll deal with the building later.
Okay. So the site plan then, Tom, tell me what's involved in the site plan, the trees, the landscaping, or is that on something else?
It's on the screen right
on
now.
the- yep, the landscaping's up there now. So essentially we have, the plantings on the sides are kind of more screening type trees. They're pines. And then along the front is more of the kind of aesthetic planting. So I think there's some, I gotta zoom in, I can't quite see, but there's some the ornamental grasses and some flowering shrubs up in the front.
Okay, so is there any plan to put some trees in the back area you really can't build on where the existing driveway was?
That would just be converted back to like a lawn area. And then there's also a wetland replication area back there from earlier. Maybe a few months back, we went before conservation for an old order that was 20 years old or something. So there's a little wetland replication planting back there, and then it's just going to be converted back to lawn. That way the residents can use it back there. It's a nice flat area.
Okay, and for all the tree lines that we see, the white pines, is there any way to blend a couple of different type of trees and just do all white pines? They're delicate and they end up breaking or the limbs fall down.
I would assume so. We can work that with the applicant with plantings they'd like. If anyone has any recommendations on plantings they'd prefer, or if you want to have us, try to mix some up in there, we can do it that way too.
Okay, well, Dave's actually the good fellow about that, but the 3 pines
Yep.
on the left side, I think I'd like to see like some maples or elms or something.
Okay.
Fine.
The only problem with the 3 pines on the left-hand side is there's a huge wall right there. So I think evergreens may be a better fit on the left over there. My other additional landscaping would be, I'd like to see an actual, not so much a plan, but a legend on this, as well as, are they gonna put beds around this? Or are we just putting the plants in with no beds around it? What's your game plan on that?
Okay. I'm not sure if I would assume on the right-hand side, that would be a bed, and then the front. So we can delineate the limits of beds and stuff and on the plans also.
Dave, there's a legend in the upper right-hand corner. It's not on
Okay,
the
I can't
screen.
say it.
Oh yeah, it's just cut off on the
It's in your
screen, I
email
think.
if you want to look at the whole sheet.
Yep. Okay, I see that. Yeah, so I'd definitely say just, delineate beds, what you're planning on doing in there.
Okay.
I don't have any comments on the site plan it's nice to see a site plan that has all the things that we're always looking for, like the sign and the wall pack and the dumpster location and that kind of thing. So it seems to me that it's in good shape.
I kind of tipped them off a little bit.
Really? Okay, well, but they always do nice drawings too.
Do we have
so just as long as the applicant knows, and I just wanted to add into here because it's 8:20, we have a hard stop at 9 in order to have a quorum for this meeting. So we'll move along the best we can, but just for the applicant, to know how the meetings work. We typically have 2 or 3 meetings with design review. So this could be a session where you take a lot of feedback and then come and finalize your stuff for the next meeting. Okay. So did anyone have any other comments left for the last presenter? And then we could move on to Tom next, who would move into the interior of the building.
one? Is there any way we can show a street view with the landscape elevation on both, with the building on both sides? So how this actually sits between the other 2 buildings it sits in? You have that?
I think there's a street view elevation of the building itself, but it doesn't include the two on the sides.
Yeah, no.
I think it would be hard for us to start requiring people to show elevations of the other buildings.
I don't think so. I think a street view with a camera from Google works pretty well. We're in the technology world. I don't think that's asking.
Well,
too
you can't, it just depends on the view that you get.
Yeah, I know the building to the right-hand side, on the right screen side, that one's very close to the road also. Their parking area kind of shares our property line. And then their building's to the right, and it's very close to the property line, up to the right of way, I mean.
So Vito, you had a prior site plan that showed the location of 96 and 82. Do you have
Yep.
access to that?
Yeah, we can show the locations on the site plan itself, just so you get an idea of where those buildings lie. We do have those in our files.
All right, well, you can bring it the next time. It doesn't have to be.
Okay. Any more questions before we move on to Tom, who's going to talk about the interior of the building? Nope. Okay, Tom, all set for you.
You could leave the site plan on for a minute. And I
Okay.
could. So as we referred to, this is 90 West Main. To the left on the screen is 96, which is Renovo. It's a yellow cape looking building. And to the right is Apex Dentistry, number 82. They're both within 10 feet of the property line. They're both gabled to the road. So they're kind of a classical vernacular architecture. That's one of the reasons the building we're proposing is also close to the street and also has some elements of that classical vernacular gable to the road. As Vito pointed out, because of the restrictions due to groundwater 2 and 3 and wetlands and all the buffers, we need to move the building forward. So it does conform in terms of setbacks, it conforms in terms of use, and it conforms in terms of building height. So the allowable uses in downtown business includes vertical mixed use. We're going to have business on the first floor, which would be MA Group Construction Company. And the upper 2 floors are 3 apartments, 2 3-bedroom apartments and 1 2-bedroom apartment. There will be a full basement, which will be accessible only to the owners of the building for their own storage and mechanical room. So looking at the site plan, we have an entry porch in the front right corner that is close to the handicap parking. And then we have a bump out on the side and a bump out on the rear. Those are stairwells. One goes to the second floor, which is on the right side, and in the back, that just goes to the basement for MA Group to gain use of the storage area. So that's where we have the loading, dumpster, and business use for the rear. So they're not applying and requesting for any kind of special permits or variances. Everything is being done by right. So in that sense, we believe it's pretty straightforward presentation. So if we could pull up the elevations, Kathy, that would be helpful. So the elevations are photographs of my little model here. So that's the front. So this is an 8-scale model. So you see the front columns, that is the main entrance to the commercial space. There's another porch on the front, which is just for outdoor meetings and so forth. The bump out on the right side is the stairwell. So this color scheme is what we're proposing. We're going to use black roof, black or dark gray roof, black windows, white siding, columns, trim, etc. The architecture, again, is based on a lot of the themes we see in Northborough, especially on Main Street, Summer, School Street, where we have this classical vernacular. It's residential in feel, but obviously this building is mixed use. So we have some commercial detailing on the first floor in terms of the siding and the window style, but it's meant to fit in with the predominant styles of Northborough. So with that, I'm certainly open to answer any of your questions. If you want to go through, you can see the rest of the exterior views. Okay, that's straight on front. This is the facing Main Street, and that's the west elevation facing 96 West Main. This is the rear, so that lower bump out is the access to the basement. And that's the east-facing elevation towards the parking lot. So here you can see we're probably going to use 3 different kinds of siding. There is a product made by James Hardy. It's a cement board siding. You can get this, the middle section is what they call the reveal panel system. And then on either side, there'd be lap siding or beveled and possibly some what they call beaded cedar mill. And I think I also included some cut sheets on the siding and the windows. So this is a Marvin Integrity. It's all fiberglass window in black. The fiberglass holds the color very well, not like a painted vinyl, which will fade. The double hung. So we're showing a 4/1 pattern, which is common to this classical vernacular. Then so this is this is a cement board siding, composite siding by Hardy. That comes in various widths. We'll probably use 4-inch exposure in some areas and an 8-inch exposure. And if we go to the reveal is like a smooth flush panel. And this allows us to kind of distinguish some of the more commercial portions of the building, and also lets us make the building more of a contemporary interpretation of traditional architecture. So, and all the siding we're proposing would be in white.
Now, are you flexible on the all white? Could you go into a light gray or something that's just a little bit less contrasty?
No, the contrast is one of the things we want to emphasize, and to make it distinguish and stand out along Main Street. A lot of the Main Street buildings are yellows and creams and tans, and we wanted to make sure that they had the visibility for their business, which are their contractors. So we're strongly like to stick with the high contrast. Like if you go to a town like South Natick, where all the buildings are white with black shutters and black windows, I think it's a very attractive traditional look.
So I first have to say it's refreshing to see a building that doesn't have a lot of vinyl on the outside. I like the material selection a lot.
No vinyl, no shutters.
Exactly. I mean, I appreciate that from a sustainability point of view. So I think the scale, the way that you have this sort of smaller scale entry towards the street makes a lot of sense. And I think also the way that scale is used on the various types of siding is very effective. Let's look at the pictures for a second. I think, I don't have any issues with the elevation. I think the roof is really elegant. We don't see a lot of roofs that have any detailing like this. So I really don't have any objections. I think black and white makes a lot of sense. I think particularly with the black window frames and mullions, that the white is a good solution. So I don't have, can you tell us a little bit more? Are the columns are just square and the same profile all the way up, correct?
Right. I was looking to make the support beams and the columns probably the same thickness, so it would read as one system. And that, coupled with the flat panel, gives me an opportunity to lend a more contemporary feel to this classical language. So the farmhouse look, or the iHouse look, which was based on, the Greek temple, Greek revival look, but it was kind of the poor man's version. This is my contribution to that tradition, but also using some classical details. I'm not trying to replicate a historic style, but I'm trying to work within the historic styles that are prevalent in Northborough.
I think it's an accurate interpretation.
Yeah. Nice design, Tom. It really looks good. Really
Thank
does.
you.
Any feedback from Dave?
I think it looks great.
If anybody wants to see the Google Street View, I have it up. I think
Okay, let's just take that off. Let's do that now.
I can do it.
I'll stop sharing,
Okay.
Diane.
Oops, that didn't work. Hang on. Can you see that now?
No,
Kathy, I may have to make her oh, there we go.
Is that working? Okay, so this is the site. And then you can see the yellow over there. That's the dental facility that Tom referenced. And then again, you have yellow over there. So I think the colonnade is kind of, you have a nice nod to that, Tom, as well.
I have to take credit for that building as well, so.
Oh, well, there you go. Anyway, I mean,
I'm
this
talking to myself a little bit here on Main Street.
got it. So anyway, people can obviously drive by and have the similar effect, but
Right.
But you can see how close the other buildings are to the road.
yeah.
You can see that they're also a variation of the gable to the road.
I think it's going to improve that portion of Main Street.
The question about the commercial building underneath, is it just going to be a showroom, or what are they actually going to do there?
Well, they're a construction company and they have their offices. They will have showroom for displaying kitchen, bathrooms, etc.
And do they have storage in the back for their materials, or it's just going to be a showroom?
Mostly showroom on the main floor. They might have some material stored in the basement. They're not storing any materials on the exterior.
Well, I've always liked that Renovo building. I think that's a very nice building on that lot. So. hopefully-
Okay. So we finished with the exterior. Tom, do you want to take us to what's your next on your list? Are you going to describe the interior of the building?
Not necessarily, but there is an issue I wanted to raise. If we could go back to the site plan.
Okay. But just Tom, after you do that, you're going to address whether it's how many bedrooms it is, because one of the members asked, was it 2, 3, 1
Well,
bedroom? Yeah.
2 3-bedroom apartments and 1 2-bedroom apartment.
Okay.
1 2-bedroom apartment. So that's different than what's on the sheet.
Well, I don't I don't know what sheet you have, but that's what would be proposed.
Okay.
Yeah, we could update that. That was for parking count, so we'll just update our site plan.
So if
Okay.
we look at this lower left corner where the retaining wall is, you see 3 pines.
Yes.
Now there's a a parallel line. There's one that goes through the Three Pines, and then to about 5 feet to the left of that is another line. See that little wedge of property?
Yes,
Right there.
Yeah. We don't know who owns that.
okay,
And talking with Vito, he says, we cannot fill that because we don't own that property. I've talked to the owner of 96, Tony Abu. We would prefer to be able to infill so we don't have this gully between sites. Tony Abu has accepted our proposal to infill to level out the front of the sites. However, we have this obstacle with a unknown owner of a non-usable piece of property we cannot touch. So I've talked to Kathy and Julie, the town assessor. We might have to do some research to see if we can find out if there is any known owner and how we can resolve this issue of this little vestige, probably a drafting error from decades ago, but there it is. Our
far-
preference would be to
Tom, how
fill
far
that.
back does it go? Does it just go between both?
It disappears, it goes to nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just a long triangular sliver. It's
Yeah.
kind of a remnant piece. It happens.
yeah,
You need a title search to figure out who's has rights to
Yeah.
it. It could be no one anymore.
Mm.
You could be able to claim it, but as of right now, more research would have to be done.
right, right.
So if we can resolve that, our intention would be to infill, so you don't have a retaining wall, and then it drops down and then goes back up again, which is less than ideal.
And is the building itself, it's a little bit below grade. So is the land going to be raised in that area, or are you just going to terrace it?
Yes, we're going to bring the grade up to, 303, which is approximate to a little bit higher than the roadway, I think. Vito, you could answer that.
Yeah, we're basically going to fill it up to the roadway elevation. So when you come in the driveway, it's essentially going to be flat and then have a slight downhill after. So essentially at road grade, though. We're going to fill that whole front piece in.
Okay, and it'll go through the parking lot to the back.
Yeah, the back corner of the parking lot will only be maybe a foot or two below road grade, maybe 2 feet, even in the back very corner. So we're kind of making a pad right off the road.
Right, is this not that? Do we have the grades here? Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see in the back off the edge of the parking area, there's those contour lines. So it kind of comes in, and then off the back edge, it's going to drop down.
All right, and that's just be grass terraced. You don't have to worry about building any retention or anything there.
No, we didn't have any walls proposed. It's all just grass slopes. And then we've also had a little area ramp down so you can access the back, with a lawnmower or whatever you need to get down there.
And I think that grass area in the back is appropriate because you have mixed use, you have apartments, you have people living there. They want to gonna be outside, and rather than just pavement, you got to provide some area for them to sit and be outside. So
Yeah, and when you're back there in that low area, it's actually really quiet and nice. The elevation blocks the road. It's pretty nice back there.
right. And when you see back there where it says existing garage, you're going to put a new garage back there, or?
No, that would just everything get cleaned up.
Okay, so that whole back area is going to be, so there won't be a garage on the property?
No.
Oh.
No.
So
No,
I would
but-
think, so if there's no garage on the property and you want to do maintenance, I would think you would at least want to consider some size, sort of like an oversized shed or something. So you could put lawn mowers or things like that. I'm sure you don't want those inside the building. Something for consideration. I think I would agree to something like a nice shed in the back.
Okay.
Party, they're going to bring pre-balloon to do that work, right? Nobody on the
Yeah,
property.
most likely you'd have a landscape contractor come in
Okay,
and mow it, but we can ask them if they'd want to have some kind of a small storage shed or something like that. in
yeah,
the
I
back.
think sometimes in these mixed use buildings, it's nice to put a shed where, maybe,
Or
I don't know
bikes
where your
or
storage is going to be for your tenants, but they could put bicycles out there, or, do you know what I mean? It's a nice amenity to offer. And it's a
Okay.
shed. It's not something we have to be concerned about. It's a shed.
They do have a full unfinished basement too, right?
Yeah. A lot of
Yeah,
times
there's
in these mixed use,
2,800 square feet in the basement, so.
are you, Tom, were they planning on breaking off to make little storage areas in the basement for the tenants?
We have not discussed that.
Okay,
Primary use was to have mechanical, a sprinkler room.
Yeah.
The building has to have sprinklers. So the basement area, as you can see, has 2 stairs. This is the basement plan on the left. It's basically wide open right now. We really haven't designated any use for tenants. I mean, it's a possibility.
yep,
So the in the plan on the right is the first floor elevation. So you, at the front of the building, you have the entrance, you have a reception, then you have various showroom
mhm,
places to set up kitchens and bathrooms. You have handicap bathrooms, and then you have a conference room and 3 offices. So it's a pretty simple layout. The back is a place for bringing in materials, unpacking, unloading, so forth. So it's mostly pretty open. And then that on the right side is the stair that goes to the 2nd floor. The building code allows a wood frame building with full sprinkler to have 1 means of egress to residential area limited to, I think, 10 or 12 occupants. So it's a loophole in the building code, which I love. So no elevators, only 1 stair, right, Bob?
Right.
But fully sprinkled, full fire alarms.
okay, looks good. All right, so Dave, do you have any so because we're coming up to almost not 8:45, we have a hard stop at 9, so let's give some feedback to the applicant for their next meeting. Dave, do you have any feedback to give them, thinking about we spoke about the left side corner of the building where they talked about that strip of land that they have to figure out. Do you have any feedback that you can give them now to go work on their landscape there?
When you talking left side, we talking void?
Yeah, with the 3 trees were in the front. Instead of doing the 3 trees, are you recommending to do evergreens?
Well, they have evergreens in there now.
Okay,
I think that's fine. I mean, they have the wall right there, so it's kind of hiding the wall. So I think that's fine.
do you have any other feedback on landscape for them?
No, I think it's pretty good. It was just, if they're gonna do a bed in there, just, show a bed, and that was pretty much it. Like mulch, just draw the line in and call it a day.
Okay, and you're okay with their plant materials?
Yeah, it's a tight area. I mean, if they want to do something other than white pines, to Lisa's suggestion, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. It's a tight area there, so it's really up to their, what they want to do there. The pines will get large there. It depends what they pick for, type of pine, but it's personal preference on what they want to do there long term. Because it can have problems whether it be an arborvitae, a pine, or even a hemlock. It's just a very tight area there between there and the neighbors and whatever they want to do. Because whether it be plowing, borderline, it's it's a tight area and going for space issues as well. So there's no right or wrong area there. It's just going to be maintenance with whatever they put in there. So whatever it's going to be, it's going to mean consistent upkeep.
Okay,
So could I ask the question? Dave, if there's snow storage along this edge between the 2 properties, maybe just have some planting near the street and at the far edge?
Yeah.
I don't know how many trees are compatible with snow storage.
That's kind of what I was thinking to ask, is if we clustered them up near the front and left the back
Yeah,
buffer as a plowing area, because it's about a 10-foot strip in between.
You
And
could do that or go with maybe some deciduous and then go with some grasses in there. Because the other thing is, like, if I was plowing it, I would go for a straight down shot right towards the grass area,
Yeah.
you know, right down. That's where I would be pushing the snow, because also you can have cars parked right there during the snowstorm.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm pushing. I would probably prefer to see maybe some deciduous trees right in there with some grasses. So in the winter, the grasses wouldn't be there. You can kind of push over those. That may be a little better situation than the evergreens, because the evergreens are going to be an issue. I don't know if you were trying to screen there. That may be an easier situation for you with snow, because the cars are gone during the day where you can push in there, go over like, you know, where the grasses like an miscanthus or something like that was there, which
Okay.
in the winter wouldn't be a factor. That would be a good solution.
So the property on the right, the paved area goes right up to the property line. It actually currently goes over onto this site.
Mm.
So it would be nice to get some relief between two paved areas.
Yeah.
think it-
When
Yeah,
I
so-
actually, I don't know, Dave, when I was looking at it, it felt like there were too many trees. When they mature, I don't want them growing into each other, sort of killing each other trees. So, I mean, do you need that many trees?
Yeah, you can definitely lighten the load. That's what I'm saying. Whatever goes in there is going to need a lot of maintenance.
Mhm.
So if we go with like let's say like, I don't want to use like a pear tree, because they are susceptible. You know, you can get one that's not susceptible to an ice storm, but you can go with pears. Let's say you go with 1, 2. So you do 5 pear trees down there, and then do the grasses in between. Something like that would be a little bit better, give you some screening, but again, you're not gonna have that winter screening. And as I said, you have, the grasses in between for the summertime. You know, again, you're still between asphalt and asphalt, you can have a lot of heat, but that's an option. But whatever, you're gonna have a lot of maintenance on those guys, and you're gonna have, it's a tough growing area.
Well, it'll be all straight again. So I think a blend though is a much better idea, because you're trying to break up those two areas. So a straight line of the same thing is probably not going to do that.
I think visually you're going to be better trying to do one type. If you start doing a blend, it's going to look a little funky. It's not a huge area. If we start doing an evergreen of this or that, it's going to kind of look like someone took a bunch of change in their pocket and just threw it down, because it's not big enough to hide it, and it's not wide enough to kind of do a good planting in there. Because we're asphalt to asphalt, correct, Tom, when you're all done?
Yep, that's right.
And what are we, about 7 to 10 feet wide?
Yep.
Yeah, you have a 10-foot strip. It's not really enough to do like a nice staggered, layered. I don't know.
What about a stone wall setting that puts the center where you could put plantings in the center and then have a stone wall between them?
I think that's going to get pushed over we get a good snow, that's going to get knocked.
Yeah.
I think that'll be, it'll look visually okay, but the first snow, good snowstorm, that's going to get knocked right over. And or, a car or big, SUV type thing will hit it. It's just not a big space. I'm just trying to keep it simple. That's why I was thinking something, where grass will grow up and be down in the winter, where you can kind of put some snow on it and not be a big issue.
You haven't got snow isn't a 12-month period. You've got some, you're putting an awful lot of interest in snow, and I can understand that. But, last year we had 3 snowstorms. The year before we had 4. So I think that you don't want to just not put anything in there because of the snow. They just have to be a little bit more careful with the truck. It looks like a small area too. It doesn't look like a big truck's going to go through there.
Right, but I'm just saying, you get a good snowstorm and someone's going to hit it, and you got a lot of money invested in a wall. It's not worth it. It's just such a small area. That's why if you put grasses in there, we'll go 6, 7 feet in the green season. In the winter, it's not there. You're not putting that type of investment, but you're getting a good screen in there during the green season. It's the best of both worlds.
You need more than grasses, though. I don't think a whole line of grasses is going to be that attractive either. I like the grass.
No, you do it in combination with trees. You do a tree, some grasses, tree, grasses. It's a combo.
Okay, Vito, and Tom, do you feel like you've gotten a lot of good feedback of coming back with something that's, change it up a little bit for the landscape design when you come back the next time?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, all right,
Now, could we briefly touch on the lighting?
yes.
So on the two front porches along West Main Street, we'll probably have recessed lighting in the ceiling.
Mhm.
So it would not be shining out, but down. And then we have a couple of wall packs on the building directed to illuminate the entries back there and the parking lot. So we have no poles proposed. And we need to get a photometric plan showing the light is not leaving the perimeter of the building. But I think with the modest amount of lighting we're proposing, I don't think it'll be an issue. But I just wanted to bring that up to see if you had any comments.
So I think the recessed lighting on the porch, it's been done, I think it's done on the development was done by Brigham Street. It's an attractive look. I like it a lot. And there's another property on Main Street that uses as well. So does anyone else have any feedback as far as their lighting? Because they're going to do a photometrics plan anyways for the planning board, but they might as well get your feedback now so they can address it.
I think that seems
Go before the
appropriate.
ZBA.
Oh, the ZBA, okay.
My only other question is if we could put a couple of trees in the back of that grassy area, just to break that up a little bit between that and the water behind. It would cause some shade. People are gonna want some shade, not just grass.
Is anyone gonna see them?
Yeah, the people who live there.
Yeah, the swamp, the wetland itself is like a wooded swamp. So there's a bunch of mature trees back there.
Those are still there.
Yeah, like on the left-hand side, behind that retaining wall, that whole section, that one's pretty wooded back there.
Vito, is the ground wet back there? Is it spongy?
It's not. It's actually in the spring it might be. We were there not in the springtime, and it was pretty dry.
Can you go right down to the brook?
Groundwater was about a foot below the
Okay.
ground. So, it should be good, along the perimeter edges as you get closer to the wetland. In the spring, it probably get a little spongy, but in that center portion, it should be pretty dry.
I do know at Tony's property next door in the grass area in the back, it's incredibly wet. It does dry up in the summer, but the rest of it gets soaking wet usually spring and fall.
Right.
And so I got to imagine that's a lower area than Tony's. So I got to assume that usually gets pretty wet.
Yeah, like mowing in the spring, it might, be ripping up a little grass, but.
So a couple of root systems help to get some of that water out of there.
Yeah, it's a
Okay,
whole swamp.
so-
It's part of the wetlands back there. It's soaking wet. We used to maintain property next door. It's always wet due to it's a whole wetlands area back there. It's unbelievable. The woodlands come all the way in from there, and that surrounds it pretty well. And if I recall, there's a woodlands. You have to reclaim part of the woodlands area with the planting back there. If I recall.
Yeah, there's a little kind of nook in the top that we need to plant that up. I think they've already done the planting actually. It just has to take now for the next, I think, 2 years of monitoring.
Okay, guys, I need to wrap up the landscaping because we're really running out of time here.
Okay.
So I think you've got enough information here, enough feedback, and
Yep.
you can come back and see what you'd like to present and then see what the board's feedback is. So a couple of things. We asked about lighting. Does anyone have any other additional feedback on lighting so we can bring it to the applicant so they can have some feedback on that? Or is everyone agreeable that the current lighting looks good?
Current lighting looks adequate, appropriate.
Dave?
I think it'll be good.
Okay, and Lisa, any issues with the lighting? Lisa, can you hear me?
Yes, no, I think it's fine.
Okay, so we're good on the lighting. Tom, and for the applicant, on the signage of the building, are they gonna just have an exterior sign that's, identifying the building on the roadside? What are they gonna do for signage?
Well, currently we show a sign in the front yard on the site
Mhm.
plan,
Mhm.
which would be externally lit.
Okay,
And I think we're allowed one wall sign.
okay,
We haven't discussed that yet, but if and when they want to put any kind of wall sign or directory on the building, we would go and file for a sign permit.
okay, perfect. Okay. So we've addressed the signage, we've addressed the lighting, we've addressed the landscaping, we've addressed the site plan. Does anyone else have any other questions that we can provide feedback to the applicants for the next meeting?
Michelle, I just want to know when your next meeting is, because right
So
now you have a meeting February 18th, and I just want to grab, Diana before she has to leave on the meetings.
Right, yep,
But you have a meeting that's just been set up for February 18th, but that's just with Judy, and you're going to need the whole hour
right.
and a
Okay.
half with Judy.
So let's ask
There's
the,
also another applicant
yeah,
that wants to come in and meet with you on some preliminary designs at 1 Lyman Street.
okay,
So
okay.
if you want to look at, something the week of the 8th, maybe.
Yeah, does the applicant feel like they could get this feedback and ready to go if we had something the week of the 8th, February 8th? And then we also want to ask is everybody available the week of the 8th? Primarily looking at maybe the 11th or the 12th, if you could look at your calendars now.
Do you want to do another morning meeting, Michelle, or?
It's really up to everyone's schedule. Can you look at an
Yeah.
evening and a morning schedule?
On Thursday, I can do either morning or evening, and I can do Friday morning.
You're talking the 11th
Yes,
Thursday?
yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
for 90 West Main to come back, and then also 1 Lyman to come in.
I can do it.
So the morning of the 11th?
And
Yeah.
how's that for you, Dave? Is that okay for you, Dave?
Yeah, I can do the 11th, and then for the for 1 Lyman, I would excuse myself out of that one, just like Tom, because I did the plan for that one.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Kathy, on the 11th, I've got a mandatory Zoom meeting at 9:30.
So you want to look at Friday instead, or 9:30 is your hard stop?
Well, 9:30 would be my hard stop. If everybody wants to go early like we did today, I'm okay.
I think we could do 8 to 9:30 on the 11th.
Okay.
Doesn't seem like we have that much more to discuss before moving forward for this applicant.
Yeah.
And then we'll
Okay.
give like a half an hour, 35 minutes to this applicant, half an hour, 35 minutes to the other applicant, and then move on to wrapping up those. I was going to say we'd wrap up the meeting minutes at that meeting. And Vito and Tom, and for the applicant, do you feel like 35 minutes is enough at your next meeting to be able to wrap this up? Seems like most of the questions have to do with design, with the landscape design.
So we're
Yeah, I
going to
think-
modify the landscape design and bring a photometric. Yeah.
Yeah,
We won't need
Yeah.
much time.
okay, sounds good. And then we'll have the Lyman Street afterwards and then doing the minutes. If I could ask the board to please review all the minutes that were sent to you by Kathy Joubert, and then send feedback prior to the 11th so we can get those all done and addressed at that meeting. So I know we have to do a hard stop right now. I just want to thank the applicant, Vito and Tom, for coming today.
Thank
Looks
you.
good, nice design, Tom, as usual. And hopefully we can wrap this up for you at the next meeting so that you can go on to the ZBA.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good.
And then
Thank you.
Diane, I know you need to head to work. Lisa or Dave, you guys are all set for, we're all set for the 11th and the 18th. And Kathy, do you need anything else from us?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, we all got a
Thank
busy day at work. All
Thank
right,
you
thank
all.
you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Goodbye.